Welcome back to my Pokémon Platinum Hardcore Nuzlocke with no duplicate types allowed. In the last episode, we started our new journey through Sinnoh. Attempt number 1 was very enlightening, and it painted a pretty good picture of what we're getting ourselves into. This challenge is very unique compared to what I've done in the past, and I'm really enjoying looking at all the routes in a completely new light. But with a fresh attempt now in the works, it's time to start pushing for some real progress. Let's do this. The sun has now completely set as we take some time to explore the beautiful Floroma town. I guess no one really goes to sleep in this game. First order of business, as always, is to pick up the TM for Pluck from the little girl in the house located in the center of town. Oh, so stealing is cute, huh? Lady, I think your daughter may have a problem. Let's go grab our first berries next, and even though there are some decent ones to obtain early, mostly the chesto berries and sometimes the random berry you get from inside the shop, I don't normally start planting them until we get to Pastoria. The line of soil in the middle of town is just so convenient, and you actually have access to fly at that point. And that's kind of the issue with planting this early. Backtracking can be a bit painful. Some more repels while we're here. We teach Pluck to Dionysus, so he's got at least one usable move now, and we spend the time to train him up on Route 204 to prepare for the Valley Windworks. And it was at this moment that I completely forgot what I was actually doing in this challenge. So much for rappelling through the route. I'm actually just impressed we leveled Dionysus all the way up to level 17 before we actually encountered one. It's also worth mentioning now that I misspoke in the previous episode when I talked about the encounters we had available to us on Route 204. The only legitimate encounter on this route at this point is now Kricketot, and that is exactly what we will now receive. Not a big deal in this case though, as I did say I wanted to play with it anyway. Welcome to the team, Artemis. We'll probably wait until we obtain the experience share from Eterna City before we start leveling our new friend. I want Bug Bite at level 16 so we have something to hold us over until we can pick up X-Scissor later on. Finally, moving out of town for a moment to continue to push the story forward, we meet up with the little girl outside of the Valley Windworks who needs us to save her father from Team Galactic. Which, by the way, is quietly one of the most messed up things an evil team has ever done, honestly. Kidnapping her dad and then leaving her alone outside what I can only presume is her home. Bastards. Although, while I attempted to teach these thugs a lesson by beating the crap out of the first grunt I saw, Dionysus kinda struggled a bit. I was thinking about using him against Mars, but after this sloppy performance, I'm not so sure now. I switched over to Zeus for the remaining grunts over in the meadow, and I picked up the works key along with some honey. I don't think the honey will be of any use to us in this run, as most of the possible tree encounters, if not all of them, are no longer legitimate. Crazy how many of them are either of the normal or bug variety. I guess that does make sense though. Moving on to the Windworks itself, Zeus toppled a few more grunts as we made our way over to the next big fight. Alright Mars, this is for Papa. I did ultimately decide to use Dionysus as our opener here, as he's got a big advantage over Mars's lead. The opening Pluck deals a nice chunk of damage, and the incoming bite isn't too bad. I go for a bite of our own on the next turn for the chance to flinch. Nothing, unfortunately, and a second bite from her Zubat is enough to put us into dangerous territory against her ace. Perugly joins the battle, and now it's time for the feline showdown. Zeus's Intimidate should help here, unless we get crit, of course. The Oranberry will heal us up a bit at least, and as long as we don't get crit again, Perugly's attacks should be very minimal. The feint attack does very little as we go for our first spark. Fantastic damage, and we get the paralysis. We go for a bite now that we're faster. The citrus berry pops, but we do get the flinch. Another bite. And another flinch. Zeus is an absolute beast. And And while an incredibly clean Mars fight is always amazing, the result is even more satisfying in other ways. Oh, and look who's here to ruin the moment. Yeah, okay. Great detective work there, Sherlock. Now that the bridge has been cleared, let's go over Route 205. We'll start with the encounter table while we take on some trainers. We've got 2 water options in Buizel and Shellos. Both are pretty great, but considering Shellos will eventually acquire a ground typing, we're gonna want to avoid our encounter for this route. And don't worry, I remembered to use repels this time. Buizel wouldn't be bad by any means, but I'm not taking the risk with these probabilities. As far as the trainers go, that Ponyta was probably the biggest threat on this route for us. The hikers made switch training Dionysus a breeze, and then we've got a lady that wants us to smell her Pokemon. Dionysus got a pretty good whiff after poking a bunch of holes into it, and the battle girl towards the northern end wouldn't be giving us much trouble either. Ooh, look, a repel! After a quick stop at the rest house, it's time to enter Eterna Forest. This will be the first Sinnoh playthrough on the channel where I actually don't have much to say about this place. Music and overall ambience aside, the only thing we've got to worry about is doing a little bit of training and getting through the mandatory battles, because we cannot receive a single encounter from this list. It's crazy how early it is in the run and we are already hitting routes that we don't even need to repel through. I am going to be a bit more cautious of the trainers this time around though. The bug catchers sporting fully evolved Wurmples of both varieties can be challenging for some teams, can't forget this little shit either, and the double Abras with hidden power really caught me off guard last time. Other than that, a fairly boring trip to the forest this time around, but not without at least one special moment for us, as Dionysus was able to eat enough bugs to finally evolve. Cheryl hands us the Soothe Bell, which Dionysus is very grateful for, and out of the forest we go. Route 205 isn't anything special, no encounters or anything else of note, although I'm just realizing now that these fishermen aren't actually fishing. You guys come here often to stare at yourself in the water? Yeah, me too. Some quick pickups, particularly in the berry department, and we have finally reached Eterna City. I skipped the Pokemon Center on the way in and started moving through the usual motions. We picked up the Explorer's Kit, which I actually may want to use for this run, at a shot at maybe Shieldon perhaps? Haven't dug up any fossils in this generation in a long time. I mosey along towards the south where we can grab a Super Potion and the Experience Share for Artemis. There's actually another encounter I'd like to go for as well on the western side of Route 211. But of course, what would a new city interaction be without interruptions? Eterna City is pretty rough in this department as well. First Barry and Cyrus, and then Cynthia on 2 separate occasions a little bit later. Before we hit up Route 211, let's go over that encounter table first. There are several options here, but I'm shooting for Metatype for this attempt, which would remove Psychic and Fighting from the board. However, while we do have better odds with our targeted team member, Machop, Chingling, and Bronzor are all possibilities. Let's see what happens. And of course, we get the rarest of them all, and probably the one I wanted the least, unfortunately. Not that Bronzor is a bad Pokemon by any means, I actually think it's fantastic. Excellent bulk with a type combination to back it up. Capable of dishing out some pretty decent damage as well. I've just already played with it in one of my recent playthroughs, so I was hoping for something else. Oh well, just the nature of the challenge. Welcome to the team, Hephaestus. You know, it just occurred to me that I think I could have prevented this from happening by just looking for Shieldon's fossil first in the underground. That is a thing you can do at this point in the game, right? I don't believe you need to reach any sort of checkpoint for fossils to start appearing down there, but I could be wrong. Like I said, it's been a hot minute. Anyway, a little bit more training before we head back into town, speak with Cynthia for the first time, and I totally forgot to pick up the Friendship Checker app from the Pokemon Center. Gonna want to track how much Dionysus likes me. Could you imagine if this app existed in real life? Having the ability to fully understand how much your pet loves or hates you? I'm gonna be doing this a lot in a little bit, but first, it's time to take on Gardenia in gym number 2. I took out all the trainers first and then went back out to level up Artemis as one of our backups for the fight ahead. Can't risk not having most of our team members leveled up and ready to go, as we saw what happens when we don't back in the previous attempt. With Artemis leading the way, the forest badge is within our grasp. Let's take it. It's Artemis versus Turtwig, and I'm thinking this bug bite is going to deal some pretty serious damage right out of the gate. Just barely not enough, as Gardenia sets up Reflect in response. I try to go for a few Sings just to see if I can stall out a few Reflect turns so we don't have to deal with that defensive boost on the next couple of Pokemon. But it was not meant to be, as Artemis would go on to miss 3 in a row. I was expecting maybe 1 or 2 misses, but damn, not 3. The Razor Leafs weren't too bad at least, and with the presence of our berry, we're still in a pretty good spot. I go back to using Bug Bites because I know Reflect will be down on the following turn. The berry pops, and we go for another. 1 down, 2 to go. Cherim comes in next, and Artemis continues her onslaught of bug bites. Gardenia opts for the safeguard here, which is fantastic. It doesn't affect our strategy in any way, and with one last bug bite, only her ace remains. Thinking that our health pool is still in a pretty good spot, I kept Artemis in to steal that berry. The Grass Knot does deal quite a bit, perhaps even enough possibly to have killed Artemis with a crit there, but thankfully we hold on and Roserade Citrus Berry is no more. Now is a good time to switch over to Dionysus to finish this thing off. There is just nothing Roserade can do here. Dionysus quad resists her 2 most powerful attacks, and I have a feeling this Pluck is going to finish things off once and for all. Another badge in the books. And while we'll enjoy a brief moment of celebration here, a tougher fight lies just ahead of us. Before we move into Jupiter, I've updated the type chart real quick because I definitely messed up somewhere down the line and removed the ghost icon by accident, and now it should be up to date. Let's get over to the Team Galactic building. Heading in, there honestly may not be a worse NPC crossover in all of Pokemon. You know, taking off that disguise didn't make you any less annoying. Just saying. I did opt into a few battles before heading up the correct sequence of staircases just to get in another level on a few team members. And just like that, we are at Jupiter's doorstep. Might have to avoid a crit or 2 in this one. Let's see what she's got. I lead with Dionysus because I know he can take out her Zubat with a couple of plucks. And when Skunk Tank does come in, we can regain any health we've lost from Zubat by munching on that citrus berry. What I was not anticipating was the crit from the incoming wing attack. Not a super big deal, but it does mean that we won't be healing back to full. Skunk Tank is out now, and we go for another pluck. The berry was delicious, and Jupiter actually goes with Smokescreen in response. We will certainly take literally anything over Night Slash. I go for the Confuse Ray in this case, which I'm not entirely sure was correct here, but I wanted a safer way to switch into Zeus just so we can get in an attack drop for extra measure. And that's exactly what I go for next. The Night Slash does come out now for a moderate amount of damage, but Zeus did what she was supposed to do. I send in Apollo next as he's the tankiest of the bunch and will definitely last the longest. Skunk Tank sends out the Poison Gas, which does make things a little bit awkward I guess, but I suppose it's better than Night Slash. We go for a return. Not bad, but I don't think that's going to be enough to bring it down on the next turn. I'm going to risk the crit here. and luckily Apollo holds on. I wasn't entirely sure if Dionysus could finish this thing off with yet another pluck while its health bar was in the yellow, and that was my main reason for taking that risk here. I actually went for Artemis next instead to see what move we got on the switch, and surprisingly it wasn't Night Slash. Let's finish this, Artemis. Skunk Tank finally goes down and we've made it past Jupiter. With the bike shop guy back at his post now, it's time to head back over there ourselves to receive our reward. We meet up with Cynthia for a second time, and can you just not do this to me, please? I don't want your stupid egg. Alright, I'm sorry, it's not stupid, I just can't even use it, and oh whatever, I'll be right back. Yeah, enjoy bouncing around while you can, Egg. It's not gonna last. The bike is a great pickup here primarily for farming those friendship steps for Dionysus. Gonna want to evolve him as early as humanly possible. Egg, I want to thank you for all that you've done for us. We salute you. Alright, let's get that friendship grind going. And with the magical powers of editing, we're done. Before we talk about Route 206 and Wayward Cave, let's partake in a quick tour of the western half of Sinnoh. Plenty of side content with great pickups to grab now that we have access to both the HM for cut and the bike as well. I've said this before, but I really enjoy these little moments where we get to see gym leaders out in the world, just doing something else other than, you know, being a gym leader. First stop on our list is the Old Chateau, and thankfully we don't have to worry about rappelling through this place. Both Ghastly and Rotom are no longer in our pool of available encounters. Love all the items to grab in this place though. Rare candies are always a nice bonus, the Dread Plate can be super helpful against Fantina, and Substitute is a pretty busted move for certain Pokemon. Moving back out of the forest, we head south to grab even more items. The big tree is ironically appropriate for this time of year, and we've finally got a run going that can actually utilize the silver powder. Artemis is going to love this stuff. Heading even further down south, Route 204, and through Floroma Town, it would appear that flirting with strangers in the woods is on the agenda for today. In all seriousness though, Captivate is a criminally underrated move in my opinion. Can be useful at any point in your playthrough, but the fact that it comes before Fantina is a pretty huge deal honestly. Getting just one of those off can really cripple her Mismagius. And finally, we continue to head south back to Jubilife. Yes, I played the lottery again, and no, I don't want to talk about the result. We reach Oreburgh Gate once again to smash a few rocks and pick up the TM for Brick Break. And with that, I think we're all set. Let's get back over to Route 206. Another route to rappel through for sure, with our available encounter table including Machop, Geodude, and Ponyta. I've already got my desired fire type in mind for this run. It should actually be a guaranteed encounter by the time we get there. Let's see if you can guess who it is. Geodude is a big problem because it will lock us out of Apollo's evolution, and Machop would be perfectly fine, but with an 80% chance to run into something undesirable, we'll skip over this area for now. It's very possible that Machop does join the team at some point later in the run, though, if we can't manage to find another fighting type that we can actually use. Actually, wait a minute. Ha! As it turns out, Machop is eventually going to be our fighting type for the run, as all other fighting types are no longer obtainable according to our type chart. I mean, I guess technically we could hatch the Riolu egg, but it wouldn't be able to evolve, so yeah, that's funny. Moving on to the hidden section of Wayward Cave to pick up those sweet items, we're gonna want to rappel through here as well, of course. It's safe to say that pretty much any cave we enter before Apollo evolves is going to be completely skipped as far as encounters go. Technically, we could obtain Gible as well down here, which is the only reason why I haven't grayed out the dragon typing yet on the board, but I think it would be cooler if Apollo evolved. The TM for Earthquake is now in our possession, although it may be a while before we obtain someone that can actually use it. Back alongside the cycling road, we head south to Route 207 for some more pickups. Dangerous route for trainers overall, and I'd say I've learned my lesson last time regarding the campers in front. Since this is one of the more dangerous early routes as far as trainer battles go, let's go through them all. The carnage begins with Camper Anthony and his Chimchar, which should not be underestimated like I once did. This thing comes packed with Flame Wheel, which as you can see here, if we took a crit, it looks like Zeus could have been dead. Picnicker Lauren is up next, and you already know why I have a problem with this one. Her literal spawn from hell is not something to be trifled with. The charm is absolutely obnoxious, so I switch into Artemis next to see what she can do. There is nothing charming about this creature. In a fit of uncontrolled rage, I have Artemis set up the Bide. Yeah, that's what this has come to, I guess. The second spark paralyzes us, because why not? But thankfully, Artemis is able to release our collective rage and put an end to this nightmare. Next, we've got the hikers on the route. Only thing to note is that all 3 Geodudes you run up against will have self-destruct, so please make sure you can remove all of them quickly. The 5% chance of missing a Razor Leaf did cross my mind here, but Apollo is more than capable of taking at least one self-destruct, at least compared to most of the others on the team. Youngster Austin's Buizel is nothing, might have Pursuit, but it's so weak at this stage that it's probably not much of a concern. Gligar, on the other hand, is a Fury Cutter user with pretty sizable bulk on the physical side. The absence of Ice-type attacks this early in the game makes this a little bit tougher. And Luxio is just a fairly strong Pokemon at this point in the game. This one does have Rivalry, I believe, so just note that it will deal 25% more damage to the boys on your team. The other hiker battle went fine as I picked up the hidden rare candy on the ledge, and then we faced off against our final fight of the route, Battle Girl Helen. Her AI is kinda wonky. She loves going for stuff like Foresight with Machop and Detect in my experience with Meditite. In theory though, Machop tends to hit pretty hard, and the increased chance to crit with Karate Chop is something to think about. And that's it for the trainers on Route 207. Just wanted to give it a little bit more spotlight because I feel like this area can be pretty easily overlooked by the unprepared. After obtaining the Versus Seeker and Dowsing app from Dawn, we exchanged some quick hellos with Cyrus in the first section of Mount Coronet, again rappelling our way through, and now we've got Route 208. Every encounter here is illegal for this run, so not much to talk about here. But I feel like now would be a good time to go over how I feel about the team so far. Apollo has definitely been our primary anchor up until this point. When stuff starts to go awry, we let him clean up the mess. It's like I said earlier, he's our safety blanket for the time being. Dionysus is obviously our current number 1, while the others work towards evolution. Always love having a Crobat on the team to deal with a variety of obstacles. Artemis has been quietly impressive to me so far. Those silver powder boosted bug bites dish out some serious damage right now, and it's only going to get crazier when we unlock X's or at level 30. Zeus has been a little disappointing if I'm being honest. I love her, don't get me wrong, but she just takes so much damage. Probably the one that has had to avoid the most crits so far for sure. Gaia is just here for the ride, of course. And then we have Hephaestus, who hasn't been featured or talked about at all so far. Very quietly leveling up in the background for now, and that's really all you can expect from a Bronzor, unfortunately. Hephaestus won't be getting its hands dirty all that much until it evolves. Overall, not a bad team. I've enjoyed playing with these guys so far. Entering Hearthome City, we deal with yet another distraction. Luckily for our mom's friend here, that Baneri is not a legal encounter for us, so we let her take it back this time. Don't let it happen again though. After a refreshing trip to the Pokemon Center, I took a little stroll through town on my way to pick up the Shell Bell. Honestly though, I do question whether or not it's really worth it. It doesn't feel like it heals all that much during any given fight, at least certainly not more than what a Citrus Berry could provide. Let me know how you guys feel about it in the comments. I've always found it to be underwhelming, but maybe I'm just not using it properly. Where the hell did you get that? I want one! Heading back across town, I picked up the hidden big mushroom for some extra money, and now it's off to Amity Square to pick up some more items. We actually have a Pokemon cute enough to go in this time. I mean, Apollo is pretty adorable, I guess. The amulet coin for some extra cash flow, the spooky plate, eventually, if I can figure out this goddamn portal maze, and the TM for Attract on the other side are all pretty great pickups. I like Amity Square. Grumpy approved. Nothing left to do now but to meet up with my mom and her friend at the contest hall. I mean, I was kind of hoping for money or something, but whatever. After a quick chat with our next obstacle, it's time to head over to the gym. Just a little bit more training on a few of the trainers inside, and just like that, we are ready for Fantina. Team's ready to go, and I've got a little something special for that Miss Magius. Let's do this. We lead with Dionysus, who shouldn't have a problem taking out Duskull in 2 hits, regardless of whether or not we get burned by Will-O-Wisp. The first one deals a surprising amount of damage, actually. It almost kills, in fact, which is actually very bad for us because I did not factor in a super potion on Duskull. I guess Pluck would have been the way to go here for the first attack. In any case, we do get burned, and now it's probably going to take at least 3 more attacks to bring Fantina's lead down. A flinch would be really helpful here. It doesn't happen, and Future Sight might actually be a big problem as Miss Magius now joins the fight. My entire strategy relied on weakening Miss Magius with Captivate, and I don't think I can back out of that now. As long as we don't get crit, we should survive. Confuse Ray comes out instead, which is perfect as Dionysus now has done his job. Before I have Apollo come in to take over, I switch into Hephaestus first to try to put Miss Magius to sleep. The Captivate debuff isn't going to wear off or anything, so I do have an opportunity here to play it out as safely as possible. In the process, we are hit with Confusion again, and we do hit ourselves the first time around. Let's see if Hephaestus can break through the second time. Success. Let's get Apollo in there to deal some damage. Since it will take 3 attacks to bring this thing down due to the Citrus Berry, I opt for Curse here, hoping that Miss Magius will remain asleep. But unfortunately, it wakes up early, and the onslaught of Shadow Balls has begun. Again, without any crits, we should still be fine here. Let's go for the first bite. Another Confuse Ray. Now things are starting to get awkward again. We are able to break through on the following turn and land a massive strike, but we have a tough decision to make here. Both Artemis and Zeus match up very poorly against Miss Magius. Artemis's only viable move is not very effective, and Zeus will die to a crit regardless if she's at full HP or not. Come on, Apollo, let's bring this thing down. Despite the odds being in our favor, a critical strike ends the life of our beloved Apollo. I just can't catch a break with starter Pokemon in general for some reason. You're gonna be missed in more ways than one, buddy. Alright, focus up, team. We're not out of this yet. It's all up to the girls now, and Hephaestus. Let's get him, Zeus. First Shadow Ball taken. The bite just barely doesn't kill, and Fantina goes for her second Super Potion. A crit of our own would be really nice here. Alright, I just have to avoid another crit. Confuse Ray comes out instead. Zeus shakes off the confusion, and Miss Magius falls. But we still have another Pokemon to deal with, although Haunter is at least a lot less threatening. Haunter leads with Hypnosis, and luckily Zeus came prepared for this, as the Chesto Berry allows her to wake up immediately. The first bite does deal a huge amount of damage, but we are put back to sleep again. And the Confuse Ray as well. Brutal. I think that's one of the more annoying aspects about this fight that makes it so tough to prepare for. To my knowledge, there are 0 Person Berries to collect before this point in the game, so you can't even play around it. At this point, it's time for some fresh legs. Thank you, Zeus. You were huge for us. Let's bring this home, Artemis, for Apollo. And with that, this episode is now over. The third badge is ours, but it comes at a hefty price. Apollo's absence will leave a huge hole to fill in our team. We'll have to see if we can bounce back in the next one. In the meantime, as usual, please like the video if you liked it, and subscribe for more content like this. That's it from me. I'll see you next time.